Hey guys, Ethys here with another lore tour. Yay! Playing White Mage this time because I finished my light farming, so why not play something that isn't Dragoon for once? Um, if you've noticed, I haven't updated anything in about a week. I'm sorry about that. To put it in layman's terms, I split the cartilage between two of my ribs, sort of around my back, and been in a lot of pain. Been having a lot of difficulty sort of talking above a whisper and breathing in deeply. But like I say, it's been nearly a week now, and I've got myself some painkillers, and you know it's going to be bothering me for a while still. But I need to stop making excuses for myself and just keep trucking. So, but if I sound a little bit sort of strained, then that's probably why. So Copperbell Mine's hard mode we're in today, and the context of this, if you don't remember, because I think it's been, what was it, 2.2 this one came out, Amagina and Sons are annexing the mines because they think that although all these copper reserves have been long cleaned out, that they might be able to extend it further and find something valuable down here. But basically, last time we were down here, we found that we'd woken up the Hecatonkires, which are a class of gigants, which were used as slave labor down here. And this is not by one of the ancient civilizations. You know, it's not by the Sildir. It was actually by Ul'dah. These Gigas were here under the, I think it was the Thorn Dynasty, and it was in sort of 1270s, 1280s, I believe they were sealed down here. So it's only like 300 years ago. So it's very, very recent and still fresh in these Gigants' memories, who seem to have quite an impressive lifespan, I dare say. So the Hecatonkires are fascinating. And their namesake is for the eldest and the greatest among the Titans in Greek mythology. Hang on, I've just got some sound coming through my other speakers here. Hopefully you can't hear that. Yeah, the eldest among the Titans, and they predate Zeus and the Olympians as we know them by a couple of generations. But we'll talk about them soon. Goblins I've talked about before. They're soulkin. They're basically what happens when an ethereal surge passes through a rock and gives it some sort of verisimilitude of life. Copyright is a obviously that's just referring to the fact that these mines were originally copper mines, and there's still obviously some small reserves around. And spriggans are basically the complete opposite. That is to say, they're also soulkin, so they're also, like golems, but they use their rock as a battery. So rather than the Goblins, which are like these rocks that are using ether as a battery, the spriggans seem to be this sort of collection of ether that's using the rock as a battery, which is kind of interesting. So the interesting thing about the Gigants, we know that the Hecatonkires are a subcategory. I don't know if they're sort of a racially different subcategory, but there's sort of this social hierarchy among the Gigants. And at the top of the pile are the Gigas, who lived up at Albathia's Spine before the Calamity, which is this range of mountains north of Duravania and northwest of Coerthas. And basically, it's been posited that they sort of wandered down to Coerthas and Mordona since the Calamity because of the damage that the Calamity did to their homeland. But we saw in a lot of Mordona leave quests, and there was a lot of speculation when Labyrinth of the Ancients was being released that basically in these leave quests we found Gigas that were holding little statuettes of the Crystal Tower, and that seemed to be sort of worshipping the Crystal Tower as this kind of cult. There was even one of them, I believe, that was claiming some descendants from the Allagans. And the theory that was floating around at the time, which I think is really really interesting and sort of does hold water, is that the Gigas, the entire race, were originally genetically engineered by the Allagans, possibly by Aemon. You know, we see Phlegethon and Xandi. They're huge, they're massive. And from what we know, the Allagans were not inherently a race of giants. We've seen a lot of sort of normal-sized Allagans, and a lot of like normal-sized Allagan clothing and armor, which we've all been walking around in. So the idea is that they were genetically engineered to be this sort of slave class, or foot soldier class, and that they were responsible for the construction of sort of the labor in the construction of the Crystal Tower, of Dalamud, of all these big projects, and that's what made them possible. And that they were sort of early prototypes for the kind of engineering that later gave, Phlegethon and Xandi's their massive size. And that the contemporary Gigas have some kind of memory through, folklore or stories or whatever of the Crystal Tower, and some sort of affinity and some sort of, vague memory of their connection with the Allagans. And that is the source of their worship. So beneath the Gigants are a couple of different slave castes, of which the Hecaton Kires are one, and the Hecaton Kires are exclusively the slave class that were used by the Ul'dahs in these mining projects. Now the Flambeau, I'm pretty sure it's Flambeau. French is one of those languages where like I can read a little bit but cannot pronounce to save myself. Basically, it's straight up French for torch. There's nothing particularly interesting there in terms of literary content. That's just what it is, straight up. We're gonna have more revenants and goblins down here. I think no, I didn't talk about the revenants, did I? The revenants, we saw some of them at the beginning of the dungeon. They're Ashkin, so they're undead, which is really interesting. The descriptor is errant. It can mean either, mischievous, but also, guilty or culpable. I believe that they're the souls of miners down here, not the giant miners, sort of the I guess the Ul'dah overseers or such, that have been unable to escape due to, I guess, a guilty conscience, some sort of will that's sort of tying them here. Or of course simply by the the effect of the calamity might have disturbed some corpses down here. Now, I've been looking for, since I first fought this guy, I've been looking for some sort of reference that Gogma could be, and what Gogma could be. I thought it sounded Hindi, but really I drew blanks on this one. The closest I could think of, and I'm sure someone's probably got a different or a better idea of this, is that Gogma is very close to Dogma, and we've got Biggie here as sort of declared himself like, the king of the mines and the king of the spriggans. And basically what he's done, like I say, the spriggans use, the stone that they carry is like this battery. And what Biggie has done is really just found a really, really big battery. I don't know why that Dragoon just used a limit break on him. Um, we're not getting a soldiery bonus here, are we? Yeah, I'm really not sure about that one. I mean, yeah, I understand that. You see the limit break, you want to see the animation. We all know what it's like playing melee. I gotta say though, I hate this boss fight. It's just so. Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know how to put my thoughts on this. It just feels really contrived to me. Like it seems like they were trying to do something different and interesting, but it just doesn't do it for me. I mean, you could like easily solo this boss fight with a scholar, and that just seems kind of. There was this one. There's also that one in the Stone Vigil Hard with the cannons with the big Bowser thing. Didn't like that one either. I don't know, there were some good fights in the Stone Vigil, like that last boss where they were just sort of telegraphing their moves rather than having cast boss. I found that really interesting, and I really hope we see something like that again. I really, really enjoyed that, but the one with the cannons, not so much. So spriggans in English folklore were basically these little fairies, and they were basically just devious rather than, you know, particularly malignant or evil or whatever. But, you know, they'd kidnap and eat children and stuff like that. But what I always found really funny is that the way to ward them, you know, all sort of monsters have their own wards, like the undead have got like their garlic and holy water and whatnot. The spriggans, you would have to turn your clothes inside out. You just straight up turn your clothes inside out, you'd be fine, they wouldn't hurt you. The Nyx, I did promise last time we saw a Nyx that I'd talk about Tiddalik, because I don't think many, if any, of my listeners here would be familiar with Australian Aboriginal folklore. But Tiddalik was from the Aboriginal Dreamtime, which is sort of this prehistorical age for them. And Tiddalik was this giant frog who would emerge and drink all of the fresh water up in all of the land, and cause these droughts, and sort of be used subsequently as I guess like a metaphor for the periodic droughts that we see in Central Australia. But there's just these really funny and endearing stories that we sort of propagate as like children's you know, picture books and things like that, of all the animals like the wombat and the snake and the eel that are all trying to make Tiddalik laugh so that he'll open his mouth and let all the water out again. Yeah, like I say, I always just found that really endearing, and I seriously doubt that Square Enix is making a direct reference to Aboriginal folklore, but ever since I first saw this sort of models for the Nyx and their equivalents throughout the Final Fantasy franchise, it's always made me think of that story. Hippogriffs we just saw. Hippogriff is basically what happens when you breed a griffin with a horse. I think Virgil first spoke about them. They were sort of this very Roman thing. Griffins, as you know, they're the the lion with the head and the wings of an eagle. Breed them with a horse, and you get like a horse with eagle wings and a lion head. Something like that. Like all of these sort of weird Roman hybrids. There's a couple of different ways that they're represented. So I got to come back to the Hecaton Kyros now. Like I said, the Hecaton Kyros were the eldest of the Titans. The Titans were the children of the first two of the primal deities in, I should say, primeval deities. Sorry, losing my voice there a little bit. Of Greek mythology, who were Gaius, the land, and Ouranos, or as we know him, Uranus, which was the sky. And Ouranos every night would come to lay upon Gaius and perform some sort of coitus, which would eventuating the birth of the Titans. And the Hecaton Kyres were this group of Titans which Ouranos found particularly abominable, and he cast them down into the depths of Gaius, into Tartarus, which is basically the darkest and most awful corner of hell in Greek myth. And I think it's Homer who describes them to be as far below Hades as Hades is below Olympus, which gives you some idea of the kind of place it is. And Copperbell mines, I guess, the way that the Hecaton Kyres is like sealed in here, it gives a lot of allusions to Tartarus, and you know, being so far underground and so sort of dark and awful. Even though we're not seeing like a lot of Voidson or anything, it's sort of, I don't know, gives those sort of illusions to me. The ironic thing with Ouranos here is that, you know, he's chastising you for killing his sons, but it's actually his sons, particularly Kronos the Titan, who's Zeus's father, that conspire against him with Gaius, from, you know, Gaius being so offended and wounded by his treatment of the Hecaton Kyres, that one night when Ouranos is laying down upon Gaius, Kronos actually reaches up with this adamantite sickle and castrates him. So, yeah, first seeing Ouranos, I thought that to be a little bit ironic. But anyway, Copperbell mines, as can be expected, and as is, you know, so many of these dungeons, it's absolutely dripping with Greek allusions in particular. But there's that, and hopefully now, once I get this up, although I'll probably... 2.51's coming tomorrow, so I'll probably come up with something on 2.51 and then release this video after that, because it just takes such a long time for this to upload. But we'll be back to my semi-regular update schedule from here on, hopefully. So thanks for watching. This is the Lore Tour. I'm Ethys, and I'll see you in the next episode.